Have you ever found yourself wondering if she actually likes you, or if you're just imagining it all in your head? That silence you sit in when you replay every moment, every glance, every word, hoping there was something more hidden between the lines. It's not confusion you feel, it's fear. Fear of misreading it, fear of getting hurt again, fear of hoping too much. And that fear, it keeps you stuck. It keeps you in the shadows, overthinking everything and doing nothing. But here's what you need to understand. When a woman truly likes you, she doesn't leave you in that darkness. She sends signals, real ones, quiet ones, but powerful, undeniable ones, if you know how to see them. Most men miss these signals not because they're blind, but because they're carrying the weight of self-doubt. They've been conditioned to chase approval instead of reading truth. They've been taught to ignore their gut and bury their instincts. They've been made to believe that interest has to look like a grand, dramatic confession, when in reality it almost never does. Attraction is rarely loud, it's subtle, it whispers, it lives in the in-between. And if you're always searching for certainty before you move, you'll never hear it. This isn't about tricks. This isn't about mind games or decoding mixed signals. This is about you learning to trust your perception again, to understand the unspoken language that women use when they feel something real. Because when she likes you, she will show you. She may not shout it. She may not say it in words. But her presence, her attention, and her softness around you will say everything. And once you recognize those three core signals, you stop guessing. You stop chasing. You start responding with confidence, calm, and clarity. The truth is, most people go their whole lives never learning how to recognize love when it's right in front of them. They mistake emotional distance for strength. They mislabel attention as politeness. They walk away from real connection because it didn't look like a fantasy. But you're here because you're done missing moments. You're here because you want to be the man who knows what he's looking at when it matters most. And if you can learn to tune into the energy, not just the words, everything changes. You begin to see clearly. You begin to move with power. And more than anything, you stop settling for people who leave you guessing. This is your moment to rise above confusion, to stop doubting yourself, to reclaim your inner authority as a man who sees the truth, feels it, and responds with confidence. Because once you understand the three signals a woman always gives when she truly likes you, you stop trying to impress everyone. And you start connecting with the right one. Stay with me until the end, and you'll walk away with a clarity most men never achieve, and a power that changes everything. So why do you keep doubting what you see? Why do you convince yourself she couldn't possibly be interested, even when part of you feels she might be? It's because your mind is trained to protect you from disappointment. It remembers the times you misread the moment, the rejection that stung, the silence that followed when you dared to express interest. That pain carved a pattern in your thinking, a pattern that says, don't trust what you feel, don't make a move. It's safer to stay uncertain. But what's safe is slowly becoming your cage, and deep down, you know it. This hesitation you carry isn't weakness. It's a survival response. When you've been hurt enough, your brain rewires itself to keep you from trying again. You become hyper-aware of every detail, overanalyzing instead of acting. But in the process, you lose touch with your own instinct. You start assuming interest isn't real unless it's spelled out in neon letters. You forget that real attraction often speaks in whispers, not shouts. You look at her consistency and call it coincidence. You feel her energy shift and chalk it up to your imagination. You sense she lights up when you're around, but you tell yourself it means nothing, because believing it might mean risking yourself again. But here's the truth. If you never allow yourself to believe someone could truly want you, you'll keep sabotaging the very connections you long for. You'll miss what's real because your fear demands evidence beyond reason. You'll walk away from soft, beautiful signs of affection because they didn't fit your picture of certainty. But love doesn't always come with certainty. It comes with courage. It asks you to feel instead of doubt, to notice instead of dismiss, to open instead of hide. There's a difference between chasing validation and recognizing value. One drains your power, the other builds it. And when you begin to trust yourself again, to believe that your presence is magnetic, that your energy does matter, you start to receive signals differently. You don't panic, you don't overthink, you listen, you observe, you stay grounded. You know who you are, and that knowing makes everything clearer. A woman who likes you doesn't send chaos. She sends calm. She sends warmth. She sends steady signs wrapped in presence, curiosity, and vulnerability. And when you finally learn to see them for what they are, you stop looking for louder signals and start tuning into the right ones. You've already spent enough time doubting yourself. Now is the time to rise back into your power. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to start trusting what you feel, not what fear tells you. Because fear will keep you blind. But presence will help you see everything that matters. And once you see it, you'll never look at love the same way again. Real attraction doesn't demand attention. It creates it. It doesn't beg, chase, or perform. It simply shows up, over and over again. Consistently, quietly, with intention. A woman who truly likes you will not vanish and reappear like a shadow. She won't make you question whether she remembers you. Her energy will remain close, even when her words are few. You'll start to notice a rhythm in the way she checks in, stays around, or finds reasons to stay connected. It won't feel forced. It won't feel random. It will feel like presence, steady, grounded, undeniable. When someone likes you, they want to be near you, not always physically, but emotionally, energetically. Their effort becomes consistent, not dramatic, not excessive, but real. The texts don't trail off into nothing. The conversations don't feel one-sided. She listens, she responds. She circles back, not because she's bored, but because something in you pulls her in. And she may not say it outright. She may not fully understand it herself, but her actions will speak long before her words ever do. Consistency is the first signal, and it's the one most people overlook because they're chasing excitement instead of alignment. But real interest doesn't always look like fireworks. It looks like showing up, again and again. It looks like her remembering the little things you said. It looks like her laughing just a little louder when you're the one who says something. It looks like her watching you when she thinks you're not looking. You don't chase this kind of energy. You recognize it. You hold it with quiet respect. If she keeps reaching out, if she keeps wanting to be around your world, that is not accidental. Women do not invest time and emotional energy in people they don't care about. They are selective with their presence. If she gives you hers consistently, that is your first proof that something real is unfolding. Don't dismiss it, don't explain it away, and don't ruin it by demanding more before you appreciate what's already there. The moment you stop needing exaggerated displays to feel chosen, you begin to mature emotionally. You stop chasing the highs and lows. You start noticing the calm, powerful signals of real connection and presence. Her consistency, her effort, her rhythm is one of those signals. It's not about how often she shows up. It's about how intentionally, how meaningfully, and how naturally. Because real attraction doesn't feel like performance. It feels like peace. Start watching not just who enters your life, but who stays. Who keeps showing up when it's inconvenient? Who remembers what matters to you? Who makes the effort to stay connected when silence would be easier? Those are the people who see you. Those are the moments that matter. That consistency isn't an accident. It's a signal. And when you learn to honor it, you'll stop waiting for proof and start moving with power. Most men spend their lives chasing attention while overlooking the power of genuine curiosity. When a woman is truly interested in you, she doesn't just stay around. She begins to want access to your inner world, not because she's nosy, not because she's trying to manipulate, but because she's drawn to your energy, your mind, your essence. She starts asking questions that go deeper than surface-level small talk. She wants to know what you think when you're alone, what drives you, what bothers you, what excites you. And this is not a performance. This is emotional curiosity. It's not always loud, but it's always sincere. This kind of curiosity is sacred. It comes from a place of emotional investment. She's not trying to figure you out so she can control you. She's not gathering data to use against you. She simply wants to know you. That alone is a signal most overlook. We live in a world where shallow conversations are the norm and attention spans are collapsing. So when someone actually listens, really listens, when they ask follow-up questions, when they hold space for your thoughts, that's not random. That's presence, and it's a reflection of genuine care. It's easy to dismiss this signal, especially if you've been around people who only ask about you out of politeness or social obligation. But this feels different. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are underneath it all. She'll remember what you say, she'll notice what others ignore, she'll pick up on the tone in your voice when you talk about something painful. And if she likes you, she'll lean in, not pull away. Emotional curiosity is her way of saying, I want to feel what you feel. And when that happens, it's not just about liking, it's about connection. Don't ignore this. Don't be so used to shallow conversations that you miss the moment someone tries to go deeper. A woman who's emotionally curious about you is telling you she sees value in your story, in your presence, in your pain, and in your peace. And that kind of attention, real, focused, intentional attention, is one of the clearest signs of interest you will ever receive. But you have to be present enough to notice it. You have to stop brushing it off or minimizing your answers. You have to meet that curiosity with honesty, not defense. When someone wants to see you show up, speak from the real place, not the rehearsed one, because emotional intimacy starts with openness. And when you give it to someone who truly deserves it, everything changes. When she asks you things no one else thinks to ask, when she wants to understand, not just observe, when she makes you feel heard in a way that quiets your inner noise, that is not accidental. That is a signal, one that most people miss, but not you. Not anymore. You see it now, and you'll never unsee it again. When a woman feels something real, she doesn't just stay present or ask questions. She starts to let her guard down. Her tone softens. Her walls loosen. Her energy shifts from performance to presence. You begin to feel a quiet openness in her. That's not an accident. That's vulnerability. And that's the third signal. A woman who likes you will eventually allow herself to be seen, even if only in small moments. Not to seek attention, but because she feels safe with you. Because something in you makes her feel like she doesn't have to pretend. That is not weakness. That is courage. And it is sacred. In a world where so many people are guarded, hard, and emotionally closed off, vulnerability is rare. It's not just emotional expression, it's emotional exposure. It's a sign that she doesn't see you as just another conversation. She sees you as someone who could understand, someone who won't use her softness against her, someone who listens without judgment and feels without fear. When a woman shares her thoughts, her insecurities, or even just a glimpse of her unfiltered self, that is trust. And trust doesn't bloom without interest. You may notice it in the way she opens up about something she's never said out loud. You may feel it in the silence between her words, the silence that isn't uncomfortable but intimate. You may see it in her laughter when it's real, not rehearsed. When she allows herself to feel around you, she's letting you in. And when that happens, she's giving you something rare, not a show, not a version of herself shaped by expectations. She's giving you her, raw, real, unguarded. But here's what you need to understand. Vulnerability doesn't always look emotional. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's hidden in the smallest gestures. A glance, a hesitation, a story that means more than it sounds. You must be attuned enough to recognize it. You must be grounded enough not to rush past it. Because when she allows herself to be vulnerable around you, she's not asking for you to fix her. She's asking you to hold space, to be steady when she's soft, to be kind when she's open, and to honor the fact that she doesn't offer that side of herself to just anyone. This kind of vulnerability is not something you earn through games or performance. It's something that naturally unfolds when she feels emotionally safe, when she sees that you are not just listening but understanding, when she senses that your presence is not a mask but an anchor. That's when she lets herself fall a little. Not all at once, but just enough for you to see the truth behind the surface. That truth is the clearest signal of all. Because real affection is never built on fear, it's built on freedom. And when she gives you that glimpse, that softness, that rare moment of real, cherish it. That is her way of telling you, I trust you with who I really am. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's the purest form of emotional strength. And when a woman offers it to you, she's not just revealing herself. She's testing whether your energy is safe enough to hold what she shares. Most men don't recognize this moment. They rush past it. They talk over it. They dismiss it. But you're not most men. You're here to lead with awareness, not ego. When she drops her armor, even slightly, your response defines everything that comes next. Not with grand gestures, not with smooth lines, but with stillness, with presence, with truth. Emotional safety is rare because it requires more than good intentions. It requires depth, a man who sees beyond the surface, a man who listens without trying to fix, who understands without needing to analyze. A woman will not allow herself to be soft around a man who feels unsafe. She will stay guarded, perform strength, and keep her heart at arm's length. But when she begins to feel that you're different, that you're steady, grounded, and aware, she relaxes, slowly, naturally, and in that moment, you're not just witnessing her openness. You're witnessing her trust in you. That trust is not random. It's earned through consistency, through presence, through the unshakable energy of a man who doesn't flinch when emotions enter the space. The world is full of men who run from feeling, who view vulnerability as a burden instead of a gift, who respond to depth with distance. But you are not built for that. You are built to stand firm, to create calm, to be the grounding presence that allows someone to exhale and feel safe being real. That is power. Not dominance, not control, but the strength to hold space when it matters most. When she shows you her softer side, it means she wants to stop performing. She wants to be known, not judged, seen, not sized up, loved, not handled. This is not the moment to retreat into your head or into performance. This is the moment to meet her humanness with your own. To stop trying to impress and simply be real. The truth is, most relationships break not because there's no attraction, but because there's no safety. And safety isn't created through words. It's created through energy, through how you make someone feel without having to say anything. If she feels calmer when you're around, more herself, more grounded, that is the strongest attraction of all. Not lust, not infatuation, but peace. And peace is what makes love stay. When you respond to vulnerability with respect, care, and stillness, you awaken something rare. You become unforgettable. Not because you tried to be, but because you made someone feel something the world rarely offers, the freedom to be soft without fear. And in that freedom, the deepest bonds are born. So don't just hear her words, feel her openness. Hold it like something sacred, because it is, and it always will be. When you finally start to recognize these signals, her consistency, her curiosity, her vulnerability, you're no longer stuck in doubt. You begin to move differently. You're no longer guessing if she likes you. You're observing it. You're feeling it. You're receiving it. And now comes the part that separates boys from men, how you respond. Because noticing the signs means nothing if you don't act on them. Awareness must lead to action. Recognition must be met with presence. And desire must be grounded in clarity. If you've ever wondered why things fizzle out even when the connection feels real, it's often because of hesitation. Not hers, yours. When you hesitate, you send confusion into the space. You second-guess the moment. You water down your energy. And she feels it. She may not say anything, but the dynamic changes. Your indecision disrupts the safety she was beginning to feel. You pull back, so she pulls in, you pause, and the momentum fades. But when you move with calm confidence, everything shifts. You don't need to rush, you don't need to push, you just need to respond. Respond to the signs with grounded energy, respond with honesty. Respond with the kind of presence that lets her know you're not afraid of what's real. Most men wait for a green light so obvious that it removes all risk. But love doesn't work that way. Connection always carries a little risk. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's meaningful. If it mattered nothing, there'd be nothing to lose. But when someone offers you presence, curiosity, and vulnerability, they're handing you a key. And if you don't open the door, the moment closes. Not because she stopped liking you, but because the energy went unanswered. You were not made to sit in confusion. You were not made to wait for permission to express your truth. You were made to lead, with strength, with integrity, with calm. That doesn't mean saying everything at once. It doesn't mean chasing. It means acknowledging what's real. Owning your awareness, moving forward with steady, honest energy. If you feel something, show it. If you see the signal, respond to it. You don't have to decode her. You just have to be present enough to recognize what she's already giving. This isn't about trying to impress her. It's about matching her effort with presence, reflecting her openness with clarity. When she leans in, you don't lean away. You lean in too. That's how trust deepens. That's how chemistry becomes connection. That's how interest turns into something lasting. The moment you start responding instead of retreating, everything changes. You step out of your head, you stop overthinking, and you start moving in alignment with the energy that's already there. That's where power lives, not in forcing attraction, but in recognizing it and rising to meet it. So if you feel it now, don't freeze. Don't fall silent. Respond with truth. That's how you turn a spark into something real. You've seen the signals, you've felt the energy, and you've responded with presence. But now you face something even more powerful than recognition, resistance, not from her, but from within yourself. That inner voice that says, what if I'm wrong? The fear that tells you to pull back, even when everything is pulling you forward. This is the moment that breaks most men. They question what they already know. They wait for more proof, more reassurance, more control. But in doing so, they smother the very spark they were given. You can't hold fire in your hands and hesitate. You either let it burn with you or you watch it go cold. This fear doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means something inside you is being challenged. Growth is uncomfortable. Intimacy is unfamiliar, especially if you've lived your life guarded, unsure of your worth, or stuck in patterns where real connection always felt just out of reach. But you're here now, and that means you're ready to break that cycle. You're ready to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone could see value in you, not because you performed for it, but because you simply were present. You must trust that the clarity you feel is not an illusion. It's alignment, it's resonance. It's a connection built not on fantasy, but on emotional truth. That's rare. And when something rare enters your life, you honor it. You don't downplay it. You don't hide from it. You allow yourself to step into the discomfort of believing that good things are meant for you too. Because the men who transform their relationships are not the ones who wait to feel ready. They're the ones who act while still carrying the fear, but move anyway. No woman wants to carry the emotional weight of a man who hides behind doubt. If she offers you signals and you respond with silence, the connection dies not because she stopped liking you, but because you didn't meet her halfway. You were sent a signal. She did her part. Now it's your turn. You don't need to have a perfect plan. You just need to have the courage to keep showing up, to keep being real, to keep allowing the moment to unfold without trying to control every outcome. The greatest power you have is the ability to remain open in the face of uncertainty, to trust what you feel, to speak when silence would be safer, to show up when the easy option is retreat. That's what she's looking for. Not perfection, not performance, but presence. That's how trust is built. That's how connection deepens. That's how two people move from signs to something real. So don't freeze. Don't fall back into the comfort of confusion. Step forward, with courage, with clarity, with calm. She's already given you enough to believe. Now give her something back. Your truth, fully, fearlessly, and without apology. That's where love begins. You've come too far to keep playing small. You've seen how she shows up, how she listens, how she lets her walls down, and you've felt it. That pull in your chest that tells you this moment is real. But now you must rise into the energy that makes a woman feel safe staying. Not just liked, not just wanted, but safe. Safe to be herself, safe to feel, safe to invest. That kind of safety doesn't come from sweet words or calculated moves. It comes from a man who leads with calm intention, emotional presence, and quiet certainty. You don't win her by chasing. You keep her by being rooted. Masculine energy that draws real feminine interest isn't loud or controlling. It's grounded. It listens more than it talks. It creates space instead of filling silence. It doesn't collapse under pressure or seek constant reassurance. It knows. It knows who it is, what it values, and what kind of energy it wants to build. And when a woman feels that, when she senses that your presence isn't a performance but a reflection of something real, she relaxes. Her guard drops further. Her affection deepens. Because she feels held, not physically, but emotionally. This is the moment where many men try to force an outcome. They want to label it, lock it down, get guarantees. But what she's really looking for isn't certainty in titles, it's consistency in energy. If your actions match your presence, she won't question your intentions. If your words align with your behavior, she won't test your sincerity. But if you wobble, if you show up strong one day and vanish the next, she will pull away. Not to punish you, but to protect her own peace. She needs to feel that you're not just capable of emotional connection, but that you're stable enough to maintain it. You become that man not by pretending, but by facing your own shadows. You stop looking for validation and start building self-respect. You stop needing her to choose you, and you begin choosing yourself first, every day, in every decision, in every breath. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes her trust you. Not your charm, not your image, but your depth, your alignment, your ability to remain calm when others crumble, and steady when feelings rise. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest, clear, strong in your boundaries and soft in your presence. When you do that, she won't just like you, she'll feel safe loving you. And when a woman feels safe loving you, you stop competing with other men. You stop fighting for her attention. You become the one she chooses in silence, in softness, in certainty. So ground yourself, breathe into your presence, and remember, your energy teaches her how to treat you. Let that energy be calm. Let it be real. Let it be the foundation she can lean into, because that's where real connection begins and where it never has to end. You were never meant to chase love like a man lost in the dark. You were meant to stand so firmly in your worth that what's meant for you finds its way, effortlessly. A woman who genuinely likes you doesn't need to be convinced, coerced, or chased. Her energy flows toward you because she feels what you bring. She feels the steadiness in you, the presence, the peace. But the moment you start doubting yourself, the moment you start trying to prove your value, you step out of alignment. And that's when the energy breaks, not because she changed, but because you did. You started reaching instead of receiving. You don't need to force anything. What's real won't need chasing. Chasing is rooted in fear. It's born from the belief that if you stop moving, you'll be forgotten, that if you don't pursue, you'll lose your chance. But the truth is, chasing creates imbalance. It places her above you and you beneath her. Not because she asked for that, but because you gave your power away. You forgot that real connection only happens when both people stand whole, side by side, not one behind the other. You don't find love by proving you're enough. You find it by remembering that you already are. The moment you realize you are the prize too, you stop moving from lack. You stop overgiving. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your presence. Instead, you attract. You hold your center. You radiate a calm confidence that says, I don't need to be chosen, I choose. That energy changes everything. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. And clarity is magnetic. It invites what aligns and repels what drains. That's the shift that makes a woman feel your presence, not just as a man she's drawn to, but as a man she respects. If you've been giving too much without receiving, constantly trying to earn affection, constantly questioning your place in someone's life, pause. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to perform. The right connection will meet you where you are. It will not play games. It will not send confusion. It will feel open, warm, mutual, and it will begin with you choosing yourself first. That's what a woman feels when she's truly interested. She doesn't just see someone she likes, she feels someone who likes himself, someone who doesn't shrink to fit in, someone who doesn't chase for approval, someone who leads with wholeness. That's what keeps her coming back. Not the words, not the gestures, the energy, the alignment, the presence of a man who knows who he is and never abandons that to be liked.
Stand in that energy, let it grow, let it root deep in your body.
Because when you finally understand that you are not here to chase love, but to be love, calm, powerful, whole, every signal becomes clear, and the woman who truly sees you will not run. She will rise with you. A woman can sense when a man is grounded. She feels it in the way you hold your silence, in the way you breathe before you speak, in the way your presence calms the space around you. And she notices when you're not. She feels it when your words outpace your energy, when your confidence is just noise, when your need for validation disguises itself as charm. You can't fake groundedness. You can't manufacture peace. It's either real or it's not. And when it's real, you don't have to say much. Your energy does all the speaking. The man who is rooted in himself becomes irresistible, not because of what he does, but because of what he doesn't do. He doesn't chase attention. He doesn't explain himself constantly. He doesn't panic when someone pulls back. He doesn't react. He responds. He's not controlled by emotion, but he's not cold either. He feels everything deeply, but he chooses action from clarity, not chaos. That kind of man stands out because in a world full of noise, he is silence. In a world full of pretending, he is truth. When you operate from that place, women respond differently. The ones who are drawn to games disappear. The ones who are only interested in surface attention lose interest. But the woman who is ready for something real, she feels it instantly. She doesn't question it. She leans into it. Because your calm allows her to exhale. Your stillness gives her space to be soft. Your certainty invites her to trust. And trust is the beginning of everything. You don't have to try harder. You have to get quieter, stronger, clearer. You have to stop looking outward for confirmation and start listening inward for alignment. When you do that, you naturally embody what most men try to imitate. You become rare without effort, powerful without noise. And women don't forget that kind of presence. It lingers. It marks them. Not because you pushed your way in, but because your energy never needed to beg to be felt. This is not about dominance. This is not about power over her. This is about the power within you, the kind that doesn't rise to prove, but to lead, to hold, to witness, to guide with calm, not control. And when a woman feels that in you, When she sees that your strength isn't tied to your ego, but to your emotional depth, she stops doubting. She starts responding. She lets go. Not because you convinced her, but because your presence made her feel like she finally found something real. That is who you become when you stop chasing and start aligning, when you stop performing and start listening, when you stop collapsing and start standing. You don't need to convince the right woman to feel your value. You just need to embody it. Fully, quietly, unshakably. Because when you do, love doesn't have to be hunted. It arrives, and it stays. You are not here to convince someone to see your worth. You are here to embody it so deeply that those who cannot see it simply move out of your way. This is the quiet strength that shifts everything. Not loud, not forceful, but certain. The kind of certainty that radiates through your posture, your words, your silence. It's the difference between hoping someone will choose you and knowing that who you are will naturally align with who's meant to stay. And the woman who truly likes you, she'll feel that difference in every interaction. She won't second guess it. She'll relax into it. When a man knows his worth, he doesn't settle for emotional breadcrumbs. He doesn't chase mixed signals. He doesn't tolerate uncertainty wrapped in excuses, because he's done that before. He's learned the hard way that begging for affection only leads to emptiness, that overextending himself for someone emotionally unavailable drains his spirit. And so he rises, no longer to be liked, but to live in alignment with his truth. That's when everything changes. That's when he becomes magnetic. Not because he's chasing love, but because he's attracting it through wholeness. A woman who feels something real with you will not send chaos. She will not make you guess. She will not disappear when things get deep. She will lean in. She will return your presence with presence, your steadiness with softness, your clarity with trust. Not all at once, and not in some perfect performance, but in real, human, consistent ways. And you'll feel it in the way she listens, in the way she opens, in the way she stays. But you must be the kind of man who sees these signs and honors them, not with overreaction, but with gratitude, not with fear, but with calm acceptance. That's what keeps the connection growing. When she feels safe to be herself, and you feel strong enough to receive it without trying to control it. That's the balance that holds everything together. Not power over, but power with. Shared energy, mutual growth. A relationship where both people rise instead of shrink. Where truth is spoken, not hidden. Where presence is felt, not forced. You don't need to be perfect to hold that space. You just need to be real. Real with yourself first. Real about what you want, what you value, and what you're no longer available for. Because when you move with that clarity, you no longer try to win anyone over. You no longer seek approval. You simply show up fully, authentically, steadily. And the woman who is meant for you, she will show up too. Not as a prize you chased, but as a partner who met you at your level, in her presence, in her effort, in her softness, in her truth. That is the quiet miracle of aligned connection. It doesn't shout, it doesn't perform. It simply flows. And when it does, you'll know. Not in your head, but in your soul. There comes a point where you must stop waiting for permission to be powerful. Stop waiting for the perfect signal, the perfect timing, the perfect reassurance. Because the truth is, those who wait for perfection never move. They spend their lives stuck in hesitation, doubting their intuition, second-guessing their feelings. And in that space of doubt, they miss everything. The connection fades, the opportunity slips, the moment dies. Not because it wasn't real, but because they didn't have the courage to believe it when it was. A woman who likes you is not sending you puzzles. She's not trying to trap you in overthinking. She's revealing her interest in small, steady ways. And if you're too distracted by your own insecurities, you'll miss what she's already given you. The truth is, clarity doesn't always come with a spotlight. It comes in subtle shifts, in her consistency, in her openness, in her quiet effort. You must be tuned into presence, not performance. You must feel what's underneath, not chase what's loud. Because real connection isn't about drama, it's about depth. If you still find yourself doubting, the problem isn't her signals, it's your self-trust. You've been conditioned to seek external validation instead of listening to the knowing inside you. But that knowing is your compass. It's what guides you through silence. It's what lets you feel truth even when it hasn't been said out loud. And if you keep waiting for someone else to confirm what you already feel, you'll stay stuck in cycles of almost love, almost connection, almost clarity. Stop outsourcing your power. Start owning your presence. When you see the signals, don't shrink. Expand. Don't overthink. Respond from your center, from your truth, from the version of you that no longer needs to be chosen to feel worthy. Because when you move from that place, you don't just attract connection. You sustain it, not by force, but by alignment. Not by pushing, but by allowing. That's what makes love sustainable. When both people feel free to lean in without fear, when the energy flows without pressure, when the moment feels like home, not a battlefield. You already have everything you need. You already are everything you're supposed to be. You don't need to become someone else to be liked. You just need to stop abandoning who you are. Speak from that place, move from that place, love from that place. And watch what changes when you stop chasing signs and start embodying the signal yourself. Because the right woman doesn't just want to feel desired, she wants to feel understood, held, seen. And if you've made it this far, it means you're ready, not for a game, not for a role, but for real connection, the kind that begins in your spirit and radiates through your presence. Own that, trust that, because when you do, you stop wondering if she likes you. You start knowing, by the way the energy moves, by the way the space opens, by the way truth no longer hides. You were never meant to live in confusion. That fog you've been walking through, the uncertainty, the doubt, the hesitation, it's not your natural state. It's the result of forgetting who you are. When you remember your worth, the confusion clears. You begin to see people for who they are, not who you hope they'll be. You stop holding on to maybe. You stop begging for clarity. You no longer chase signals because you've become the signal of strength, of peace, of presence. And in that energy, everything becomes obvious. You stop asking, does she like me? And start asking, is this aligned with the man I've become? When a woman likes you, there is no chaos. There is no distance dressed as mystery. There is no silence masked as strength. There is only presence, only effort, only openness. It might not always be loud, but it will be clear. And when it's not, you don't spiral into doubt. You walk away with grace. Because the man who knows his worth no longer negotiates with confusion. He doesn't wait to be chosen. He doesn't live for external signs. He becomes the one who leads the energy, steady, unshakable, honest. Your power is not in how many people want you. It's in how well you protect your energy from what isn't real. You don't have time to decode someone who can't speak their heart. You don't have space for situations that keep you second-guessing yourself. That's not strength. That's self-abandonment. And that ends now. Because the moment you start trusting what you feel, you stop tolerating what drains you. You stop falling for potential and start aligning with truth. The kind of truth that doesn't hide. The kind of truth that shows up even in silence. When a woman likes you, her energy invites you in. It doesn't push and pull. It doesn't leave you guessing. It grounds you. It calms your spirit. It opens space for connection to grow, not contract. But you must be still enough to recognize that. And brave enough to walk away from anything less. Not out of pride, but out of self-respect. You are not here to convince anyone to want you. You are here to connect with what matches your peace. That means you show up fully, authentically. You speak your truth without apology. You let your presence do the work your words used to do. And you move forward without looking back, because you trust that what's for you will feel like peace, not pressure. This is how you live. This is how you love. Not by chasing something unclear, but by becoming someone undeniable. A man who doesn't beg for affection, but who radiates worth. A man who doesn't confuse interest with effort. A man who sees the signs, moves with purpose, and honors himself no matter the outcome. Because when you live from that place, everything you seek begins to find you, naturally, effortlessly, and in truth. There is a version of you that already knows what to do. He doesn't second-guess energy that feels right. He doesn't ignore the tension in his chest when something feels off. He doesn't run from connection out of fear or cling to it out of desperation. He moves with clarity. He trusts his perception. He honors what he feels. And most of all, he no longer waits to be validated because he lives in alignment with his own truth. That version of you is not a fantasy. He's just buried beneath years of conditioning that told you to play small, to seek permission, to chase instead of attract. When a woman genuinely likes you, she doesn't play with your mind. She doesn't create confusion and call it mystery. She sends peace, not pressure. And when you're connected to your own inner clarity, you recognize that difference immediately. You stop mistaking anxiety for excitement. You stop interpreting inconsistency as challenge. You see it for what it is. You breathe through it. You stay grounded. You either engage with what's real or walk away from what's not. Either way, you don't lose yourself. That's what true presence looks like. The strongest men are not the ones who control everything. They're the ones who control themselves. They don't need to know the outcome to take action. They don't need a guarantee to move forward. They trust the moment. They trust their energy. And they trust that showing up as their full, grounded self will always lead them where they're meant to be. Even if something doesn't last, it won't break them, because they never betrayed themselves to keep it. This is the energy that commands respect. Not arrogance, not aggression, just quiet, unwavering presence, the kind that makes a woman feel like she doesn't have to perform, like she doesn't have to hide behind filters or walls. She can just be, because she senses that you're not evaluating her. You're feeling her. She senses that you're not seeking to impress, you're seeking to connect. And that kind of energy creates space for something rare to grow. You don't need to say everything right. You don't need to read her mind. You just need to stay rooted in who you are. Observe, listen, feel. If it's real, you'll know. If it's not, you'll still know. Your job isn't to control the connection. It's to meet it with honesty and then let it reveal what it's meant to be. That's where power lives, in the stillness, in the clarity, in the ability to show up fully seen, fully honest, and fully ready without needing to be anything more than yourself. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she respects. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, the realest, the one who makes her feel safe without trying, the one who brings peace by simply being. Be that man. You already are. Just stop dimming it. Let it rise, let it speak, let it lead. You don't attract real connection by trying to be more. You attract it by becoming less distracted from who you already are. The moment you stop overcompensating, performing, and chasing validation, you begin to radiate something rare, authenticity. That's what draws her in. Not your perfection, not your achievements, not the mask you wear to look impressive. She's drawn to the man who is comfortable in his own stillness, the man who listens without trying to impress, the man who makes eye contact without flinching, the man who stays soft enough to feel but strong enough to stand. Real feminine energy responds to safety, not the kind of safety that hides behind bravado or fake confidence, the kind of safety that comes from a man who trusts himself so deeply that she feels no need to second-guess his intentions. And you can't manufacture that presence. It's built. It's built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the discipline to know yourself, in the choice to stay grounded even when emotion rises, in the willingness to face your fears instead of projecting them. If you've ever wondered why a woman pulls back when things start getting real, understand this. She's not just reading your words. She's reading your energy. She's feeling the part of you that doubts, the part of you that tries to prove, the part of you that fears being seen. And if she senses that your center is unstable, her guard goes back up, not because she doesn't like you, but because she's unsure whether you can hold what she's offering. That's not a test. It's a mirror. The only way to create something lasting is to become the man who no longer abandons himself in the pursuit of someone else. You stop asking, what do I need to be for her? And start asking, am I being true to me? Because when that answer is yes, you no longer chase. Your presence draws in what's meant to find you. And what you attract isn't just interest, it's respect, depth, devotion, because you've created a container that can actually hold it. A woman who truly likes you doesn't need to be overwhelmed. She needs to be understood. She needs your presence, not your perfection, your truth, not your performance. And when she feels that in you, her heart opens, her effort increases, her signals become louder, clearer, stronger, not because you chased them, but because you held space for them to arrive. So keep showing up, but show up as you are, the grounded, powerful, calm version of yourself that no longer needs applause to feel whole. That's the energy that creates loyalty. That's the energy that inspires softness. That's the energy that turns potential into presence. You don't need to search for signs anymore. When your energy is clear, her signals become undeniable. All you have to do is stay rooted and let what's real rise to meet you. When you become rooted in who you are, your energy begins to speak louder than anything you say. You no longer beg to be seen. You no longer seek attention through noise. You simply walk into the moment with a stillness that says, I'm not here to impress. I'm here to connect. And the right woman will feel that before you even open your mouth. Because the masculine that is deeply grounded creates a space for the feminine to finally exhale. Not because you're trying to control her, not because you're demanding anything, but because your presence feels like truth. It feels like safety. You can't fake this. You can't trick energy into alignment. If you're uncertain about yourself, it will echo in your tone, your posture, your words, your silence. And even if you try to mask it with confidence, a woman who's emotionally intelligent will sense what's underneath. She'll feel the hidden insecurity, the unspoken fear, the desperation behind your charm. But if you've done the work to know yourself, if you've moved through your doubts instead of avoiding them, then your energy shifts from reaching to radiating. And what you radiate pulls in what matches your depth. The most attractive quality in a man is peace, not because he avoids problems, but because he's not ruled by them. He can feel anger without becoming destructive. He can feel attraction without losing his center. He can feel love without needing to possess it. That's power. Quiet, unshakable, undeniable power. And a woman who is real, who is honest, who is ready, she won't run from that energy. She'll lean toward it. She'll trust it. She'll open to it. Not just physically, but emotionally. And that's where the real connection begins. You've been told to chase, to pursue, to win her over. But the truth is, if she doesn't feel something before you even move, your words will never be enough. Women don't fall for effort alone. They fall for energy. They fall for the way your presence makes them feel. And when your presence is grounded, when your words come from truth instead of performance, when your actions are aligned with who you really are, then you don't need to sell yourself. You simply need to show up. The man who truly leads doesn't do it with force. He does it with emotional depth, with patience, with precision. He doesn't chase signals. He creates clarity. He doesn't demand respect. He lives in a way that commands it. And he doesn't wait to be chosen. He chooses himself first every time. That's the shift. That's the path. And when you walk it, the right woman doesn't hesitate. She sees you. She respects you. She chooses you not because she was convinced, but because her soul felt safe in your presence. And that, more than anything, is the signal that matters most.